I have a feeling you're not going to show up, Bill. I was just getting ready to call you.
I know it. Oh, goodness, David.
One of those mornings?
Yes, indeed. I was doing all right until I looked at the clock.
Well, hey, not too big a deal.
No. No.
Oh, I have a present for you.
Oh.
I discovered that I had 2 copies of this.
Oh.
Thank
you.
You're welcome.
Oh, that's great, because I've got to get going, David, I'm telling you, I'm just not
Bill?
not doing well.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, it's you know, it just seems like I'm just not making enough time for Tai Chi, and it's too
You
damaging.
got too many things going on.
Yeah, I'm afraid I do.
You have to decide what's important.
Yes. Yes. So I was thinking about it, and how'd you do with Father's Day?
Oh, not bad. I've pretty much, gotten pretty well balanced from that. It was not, I had some moments, and I had some nice messages from people understanding about that. You just never get over that.
No.
It's
No, that's an absolute horror show.
and the strangest things will trigger. We were watching a movie the other night, and a mother hugged her child, and I just dissolved in tears. It just like it did, and every once in a while that still happens to me. It's not often anymore. Early on, that happened a lot, but it's I'm pretty balanced about it now.
Well, you got your life pretty well under control. I'm always amazed at what you're able to accomplish.
Well, it doesn't seem like very much some days, but
Well, from the outside looking in, David, you're a masterpiece.
Oh, thank you. I had one particularly nice call from our boy Zach. He was 3 when Jade and I got together. So he's always been a little closer to me than Dylan, who was 6. But Zach and his wife Hannah FaceTimed me, and we had a really nice conversation.
Oh, wow.
So that was that was good. So I still have two sons, is my feeling,
Yeah.
and life goes on.
Yes, it does.
Thanks for asking. I appreciate it.
Okay.
How was your Father's Day?
Excellent.
Good.
You know, got a call, or a text from our son up in Stone that, let's see, this was on Friday, that Colin was playing two soccer games on Saturday and one on Sunday.
Oh my God.
And they were in Leominster. It's north of Worcester,
Uh-huh.
half hour. But it's a poke,
Oh yeah.
you know, and so Gene was really good about it because we had set up a lunch
Mm-hmm.
thing we set up for 2:00, which was fortunate. And the game on Sunday was at 10:30. So we are allowed 2 hours. Gene said, okay, if you want to go, we'll go. So, you know, we're up at 6:30 and we try to leave at 8:30, which we did. But to get there for 10:30, we were about 10 minutes late. And, but the game was good. It was really nice seeing the grandkids and
Uh-huh.
you know how neat they are and how happy everybody was to see us.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
great.
so it was, and it was a fun game. The kid that played soccer is struggling with contact, shying away from
Mm.
contact, and it's hard to handle as a parent because he's a good athlete, and you know, so you have to understand that and you know, comfort him, and instead of saying, you know, get in there, blah, 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 blah.
Oh yeah. No.
You know, it's being in sports all my life, and it's very difficult with your kids in sports. You know, most of the time you're pretty good with them. You spend a lot of time with them, you're pretty good with them, but they're always good. You know, your kids' kids, they're good because we're good, you know, and when you see that, it's hard to deal with.
Mm.
And I know it sounds funny, but
No.
anyway, he played goalie, and well, he's a natural. I was so glad to see that. Gee, he's really good, and so I think that's his position. But baseball is really his sport.
Mm.
So it was fun. It was good. It took a lot out of us.
I'll bet.
Yeah, rushing up there, trying to find the field. They have 29 fields. These are soccer fields.
Wow. Soccer's pretty popular up there.
It is right there. There was just thousands of people.
Oh wow.
But then we went back. We went to Sadler's for lunch, and then we did nothing, which it's getting hard for me to do. I just have too much on my plate,
Oh.
and everything half-ass.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I understand that.
yeah. So,
My problem is that I find it difficult too sometimes to just stop and enjoy. And I've managed to do that better recently, so.
well, I've got that to look forward to. If you can do it, I'll follow.
Well, when you really let yourself do it, you discover you really enjoy it. It's we and our culture put the pressure on us that we have to achieve and do. Actually, if you look at the principles of Taoism and Buddhism, no, that's not the most important thing. So, interesting. It's funny. I'm listening to a recording of a Peter May book, and it's the first one in his China series, and they say yin and yang and Tao and Taoism, and it drives me crazy. They didn't get very good advice before they recorded that one.
How would you say yin and yang?
It's yang.
Yang, okay.
The A is a long A.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, it's really yin and yang.
Yin, yeah.
It's difficult to, get all of that, but a recording of not a terribly important book. He's a pretty important writer of mysteries. You would think that somebody would have caught that, but particularly when he said Tao and Taoism. And that's the way it was spelled for years.
Yeah.
It's only been in the last, 30, 40 years that with the new romanization of Chinese developed by the Chinese government that it's spelled with a D. Because the Wade Giles system from the 19th century, T with no apostrophe following it was pronounced as a D. It's part of their system. So, and that's the way it was spelled. Still spelled that way, although certainly there's been some transition. But anyway, we're not here for that.
Every little bit helps.
Okay.
It does. You know, that lesson that I took from you where we did so much talking, that was just right.
Good.
That was good for me.
That's, I have discovered, it obviously took me a long time, but I think it's probably only been in the last maybe 7 or 8 years of teaching that I have realized that in our culture that the talking is really important. And some of the more advanced classes that I'm teaching right now, um, I start the class by asking questions about, what's happening and what they're doing, and we get into some really good discussions, and things get said that wouldn't be said otherwise.
Once you get the ball rolling,
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
okay.
we can do whatever will be good for you.
All right, excellent. Oh, I started reading Through the Western Gate.
Oh, yes.
You know, I got 3 of his books. Anyway, and that one, that's, I just started it. He has one where it's just a whole bunch of stories. My Times or something, I can't remember the name of it. Have you read it?
No, I haven't read that.
Well,
I've read the other 2.
It's weird. It's just story after story after story. It's got nothing to do with nothing.
It probably has something to do with everything.
Yes, it does. Yes. Okay.
So, any particular questions?
No, one of the things that I find is I hope I'm doing it right, is being on the ball of your foot and back on your heel, depending on what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I find myself doing that, and I just want to make sure that. And the other thing is, I don't know how to find that position.
Mm. It was interesting. You were standing with your back facing directly into the camera for the 8 gates last week.
Yeah.
And I had the feeling that you had this movement very clear in every position. That I felt like you had this, but I didn't see this movement, which is what we're trying to find.
Wait a minute, what's the difference now?
Let me do it from the side, because I think maybe that way you can see. So I'll just do this because this one's easy to see. So this is what I felt you were doing.
Yes.
And that does accomplish much of what we're trying to do. But it is not circular, it's linear.
Okay, yeah.
And the problem with linear is that it's move, stop, move, stop, move, stop, move, stop. And what we want is move, 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 in everything.
Okay.
Does that concept make sense to you?
Yes, it does, yeah.
Okay. So the movement that we're trying to do is one that includes that circularity. Now and I'm exaggerating here. It doesn't have to be that big. Its purpose obviously is to keep things connected and moving. um, it gets it gets a little difficult when you start going through 8 different positions, which is also its value because it teaches you how to do that in 8 different positions.
Right, yeah.
And therefore you can do it in ultimately in multiple positions in the forms. So the other principle, which I know you know, is that once you have that connection to the scapula, and is that what you're saying that you don't know
Yeah,
how to find?
yeah.
Because
Well,
can you feel your shoulder blades?
moving?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well,
They may not move much.
When I exaggerate, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a start. That's a good place. When you can't feel that, it's almost impossible. So if you stretch your elbows all the way forward, that pulls your shoulder blades away from the spine, right?
Right.
And then if you push your elbows back, it pushes the scapula into the spine.
Right.
So there's one of the movements that we would like to have. And notice that I am not doing this. I'm not collapsing in. I'm maintaining the same distance between my elbow and my scapula. So they're going out and they're coming in. So can you feel that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So the scapula are capable of doing this, which is what we're working towards. They're also capable of doing this, which is nearly impossible to feel. So don't worry about it, but I've just mentioned it as something to throw into the back of your head. So part of the bending and twisting is to get part of that circle, push the scapula in, and then pull the scapula out. So you're adding a very small circular movement to that elbow instead of just out and in.
I'm exaggerating it.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, that's how we start. We start by making it large, and then
I can, yeah, feel it's actually the extremes just.
yeah,
going
good.
now, getting pushed in. It's easier with moving my elbows out, of course, to get them pulled out.
Yeah.
But pushing them in doesn't feel right.
So if you can make your circle do this instead of this,
Okay.
you feel that? Yeah. There you go.
Yep.
And of course, the problem is that at the same time, we're at elbow, wrist, and hand and fingers, we are bending and extending, and bending and extending. And then, just to complicate things, we're also twisting in and twisting out. Don't overdo the twisting. The twisting can, because what you're doing is turning,
Yeah.
which is fine. That's the first stage. You gotta find, how do I use my muscles to turn and achieve all of this movement. But ultimately, what you want is that it's internal, and so it can be much more subtle, and you still arrive at eventually at the same thing, but you've got to start with the large movement first and get it really comfortable, and so that you can feel it. Because if you can't feel it, then how do you do it?
The elbows seem to make a big difference.
The elbows are a key part, yeah. Not the whole thing, but it's part of it, big part of it.
So, yeah, but you were saying I should be making a circle.
Yeah, you remember,
not this way.
you remember in Dragon and Tiger,
Yeah.
the exercise we did,
Yeah.
where the elbow came down, went up, came down, and then we flick.
Oh, I didn't realize it did all of that.
Well, I'm sure you did at the time. You may not have been doing it, but
Yeah.
Ultimately, when you're doing the movement, it kind of disappears.
Right. Yeah.
It's still there,
Yeah.
but it's much more internal. But as a practice for feeling the elbow and its relationship to the scapula, feeling it push the scapula in, pull the scapula out, push it in, and release.
I'm just thinking, you keep talking about moving the scapula, and then all the stuff we do, I don't feel it moving.
Well,
it's not there yet.
It's that was in a way, that was why I brought up this exercise.
Yeah.
Because just as an exercise, this is really a good one.
I hate to admit this, but it's only been recently that I realized that all of these things that we're doing, very seldom do I feel any movement of energy. So, I mean, all of these things I do by rote, and I have not incorporated.
And see, but part of that is getting beyond the focus on the physical.
Yes, yeah. See, that's
and that's hard.
Yeah.
Particularly, I think, for the engineer's mind, I think it's hard. I'm just lucky. Really,
Yeah.
I came out of the theater, went into massage, and finally got into Tai Chi.
Yeah.
And so you know, I was already, I think, more open,
You were, of
and
course.
it made it much easier.
Yeah.
And one of my massage practices that I was taught, that I actually considered doing as my work for a long time, it was called Jin Shin Do, which is a form of energy work with the body. And I was quite good at it, if I say so myself.
Yeah.
um, but that was because I could feel the energy fairly easily. And in order to do Jin Shin Do on somebody, or any of the energy works, you've got to feel their energy. You have to feel what's going on at those points. Because if you can't feel that the point is blocked or out of balance, then it's hard to do anything about it.
Yeah.
Well, we go through the same thing here. I mean, we have to get past the blocks. Have we? I can't remember. I think that probably I haven't gotten into this in this class particularly, but one of the practices that comes up in opening the energy gates of your body and then continues through everything else is learning how to be aware of energy blockages and how to dissolve them and resolve them. And there are ultimately many different ways, but there is one basic way that works quite well. I've had a couple of students who had a severe problem with migraines, who found that they could, if they attacked it as soon as they knew that the migraine was starting to come, they could dissolve it and get rid of it. And I certainly use it. Lots of everybody. A lot of my students use it because it's a really good process. But does that sound like something that would be helpful to you?
Yes.
Okay. So sit down.
I just happen to have a chair.
Yeah. It works very well standing, but initially you can do it seated, or if you're not feeling well, seated is fine. It is important, if you're doing it seated, that you're in the appropriate position, which is feet flat on the floor, and the back straight. Now, so in other words, if you lean back into a chair, that's not straight.
Right.
And what happens is that the body immediately begins to close down in the midriff. So when you take away that support and just are aware of the body opening up, structurally you're doing exactly what we do when we're standing. It's just we are applying it to a seated position. And the phrase is that you want to extend your mind through your body. And what that's saying is allowing your mind to literally be able to sink into and feel what's going on in your body. Because if you can't feel what's going on, you can't feel whether the energy's flowing or whether it's blocked. And it is possible, and at our age, let me say, there is no question that we have many, many, many blockages in our body.
What?
I probably have fewer because I've really been working on it for many years,
I'm
but
sure you do.
but um, so what that means is that you start often we start by simply scanning through the body. So starting at the crown of the head, just trying to literally let the mind sink through the body slowly, not real fast, and just feel any place. If you're not feeling much energy, that makes it, that of course is something that helps. Because if you're looking for a blockage of the energy, being able to feel the energy obviously will help that. However, a place of pain or even just discomfort will often indicate an area where you have an energetic blockage, because if the energy was flowing freely through that place, you would not have pain or discomfort. Now, both you and I'm sure, have places in our body where we will never be totally pain-free. I may be wrong about you, but I think I'm presuming that's the case. But you can mitigate it. You can make it less. So the first thing I'll talk you through doing this. We just get our mind to flow through our body and take a survey. In effect, where are there places that don't feel right? And if you have any sense of the energy, you can feel the places where it's not flowing smoothly, or where it gets blocked, stopped. Then you start at the top of the head, the crown of the head again, and you go down to the first place, wherever it is. And there are probably places in your head but you may not feel them. Maybe you'll feel it somewhere else. To begin with, it really doesn't matter. There's not a right or wrong here. There is simply allowing yourself to feel where you even think you have a blockage. Because if you think you have a blockage, you probably do. And then we focus on that as something hard that's in the way. And the Taoist concept is to use ice as that image. That blockage is a chunk of ice that's in the way. And there are two stages to both outer and inner dissolving, but we're certainly just focusing on outer at the moment. The first stage is to try to actually feel that blockage melt from ice to water. Just soften and melt and become liquid. And then the second stage, if you get any change at all to the place you're focusing on, and it may be extremely minor the first time, because often if we have a severe blockage, we have to dissolve it many times before we really resolve it. So you sit with that for a little bit, and one of the things here is that if you realize that if you sat there for 5 years focusing on it, nothing was going to happen, you say, okay, I'll go to the next one. Because often that going to the next one, if you get a release there, it will also create a release in the first one. Is this making any sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know this is not something we've worked on before. Also, if it does release some, the second stage is water to gas. So you're thinking of it's going out and releasing really through your etheric body and away from you. So it's gone. Whatever you released is gone. This is obviously a meditative process. I think you probably realize at this point. The other thing, and I'll just throw this out, initially, this probably would not relate to you just because you would need more experience before it was true. But you can come down from the crown of the head and discover you've got a blockage here. And when you get some release there, the next one you go to, or the next place you check, is not down, but around. And it could be in either direction, doesn't matter. Because often there are multiple blockages at the same level. And so you deal with the blockages at one level, and then you go down. Often when you begin, you don't get very far in the body, and you'd be all day if you were doing that, or at least I would have. That's really the process. One other thing I would say is you do not ever go backwards at this stage. In other words, you don't go down and deal with the blockage here and then say, oh, wait a minute, I feel one up here, and go back up. You would not come back to this blockage if there's one here until you have gone through the body, and then go back to the crown of the head and come down to that. This is because primarily you're going to be releasing down or out and away. Questions about this?
I can't seem to get into my body.
You need the same body we need in everything that we do. You are allowing your mind to sink through your body. And so you might just go through just trying to see if you can feel down to the level of your eyes. And then down to the level of where your tongue touches at the roots of the upper teeth. And you're just feeling from whatever you feel. There's no right or wrong here, just opening to whatever you feel. You go down to the throat notch. Up to the shoulders. And ideally, you'd like to sink at the same level down through the torso and the arms. Feeling down through the chest and the back. Sinking through the arms down to the elbows. To your midriff. Going down to your lower dantian. Down to the perineum and the qua, at the wrists. Hands and fingers, and beginning to drop through the thighs. Just feeling for whatever. And the dropping of the energy is exactly what we often start standing work with. Letting the energy flow downward. Down to the knees. Just letting your mind be aware of your calves. And your ankles and your feet. And then as you go back to the crown of your head, just let your mind sink down to any place where you had any sense whatsoever that the energy is not flowing smoothly. Could be anywhere. Head, neck, chest, arms. Doesn't matter. And just settle your mind on that place. soften and melt. And then if you get some change, you would think water to gas, allowing it to just change into that amorphous state that can flow away from your body. If you feel some change, just let your mind flow on down through your feet, releasing into the earth. And before you stop, let your mind go back to the crown of your head and just flow through your body, down into the earth as freely as possible. And when you're ready, just relax. So could you feel something?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's very easy for me to doze off
Mm.
with my eyes shut.
Mm-hmm. You could do it with your eyes open.
That would be better for me.
Um, I've just always done dissolving with my eyes shut. When you get to more advanced levels, the eyes are always open, but unfocused. So you wouldn't focus on an object because that immediately takes your mind out there,
Yeah.
which is why usually it's recommended to start with your eyes closed initially. But
Yeah. You know, I've tried to meditate in the past, and it's been very difficult for me.
Mhm.
It-
that's in a way that's why using dissolving is really helpful because it eventually gets rid of energetic blockages in your body, which is obviously its primary purpose, but also secondarily it begins to help you learn to meditate.
Yeah, one of my kids, I remember when he was trying to meditate, he really worked on it. It took him a long, long time, but he finally was able to. I don't know for how long, but for quite a while.
Mm. The other thing is to not try to do this practice until it makes you frustrated, because that obviously doesn't. If nothing seems to be working, go on with more other practice or the rest of your life. You know, I mean, it's not. Um, you can drive yourself crazy trying to release a blockage that just won't release at the moment for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I think for many of us in the West, in a way, one of the primary places that we have to learn to release to begin with is the mind. Because we start out with not really believing in the energy. Of course, the fact that our scientists have shown that there are energy flows in our body that are almost exactly the same as the energy flows described by the Taoists might make it a little more acceptable. But we don't grow up with that.
No.
And so it's
No, you said that the other day.
Mm-hmm.
About how they grow up with that.
Yeah.
Boy,
Yeah.
that makes a big difference.
Well, you can make it simple thinking about what do we culturally grow up with that it's really hard to get rid of or to change.
Yeah.
But when you can learn to do this, and this is there are many other methods in other spiritual practices, but this is a kind of basic Taoist method. And that's what has worked for me and what I teach. So Dave, who probably will listen to this at some point, would teach something slightly different, although maybe the same, but he approaches it from a Buddhist standpoint. But we, in the end, it's pretty, what we're working towards is very similar, very much the same. I don't know whether that'd be helpful to you or not, Bill, but you could try it.
I think it is.
Because it's a way of getting in touch with your energy, I think. And that's really something that you seem to want and need at this point.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and I do need it, yeah. I think.
Yeah, I do too. Well, that wasn't anything I had in mind to teach today.
Well, I think it was just right.
I hope so.
I think so, yes. You know, sometimes, like, you know, when I come in here,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can already, you know, feel, I guess, the energy in my hands.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times when I'm doing something and I do feel it.
Yeah.
But it's gotta be more than.
Another thing that can help in this is Rick's finger. Not Rick's, your finger.
You know, I glanced through that through the Western Gate, and there's a lot of photos in there.
Yes, there are.
Yeah.
Because one of the things you discover is with your hands just sitting on your knees or even just hanging at your sides, that you can change where your mind is by extending your fingers. Not by focusing on your fingers. Remember that there has to be a difference there. But it's really interesting that if you really let yourself do that, it changes everything. It really does increase the energy flow.
It's amazing. What's behind all that?
You're getting ready to read about it.
Yeah, well, that's pretty far into the book. I'm not there yet. I just started it. I'm on like page 3. I don't even have a bookmark for it yet.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, wow. Hey.
Get with the program.
I know.
Really what's behind that is allowing your mind to extend through your body. And beginning to let go of focusing on the physical. Because resisting physically in holding up your arm does not work. You know, somebody half as strong as you can push your arm down. But if you extend your energy out and you really release, it's out there. Somebody can hang on it. So, what's behind it? Stopping thinking. Yeah.
I still don't have this motion. I'd like to go back to that.
Okay. What time is it?
Oh, well, here's the problem. I have this on, no wonder I'm blocked.
Uh-huh, that'll do it.
I have this last right there.
Oh, well, let me walk over to my time phone piece. Oh, get back here. Oh, we've got a little bit of time.
Okay. Yeah, I want to.
You want to go through, just do the whole 8 gates?
No.
No.
I want to.
Okay.
I want to get this motion done.
Okay. Are you comfortable doing it here, or do you want to do it here or here?
This is good.
Heart level, okay. Good, that is a good level. That's kind of one of the easy ones. Yeah. Now, as you're doing that, that looked pretty good. Did you feel that?
Not as much as when I'm exaggerating it, but
Well, no, you won't as much as when you're exaggerating it, but that's all right. You can, you to practice it. It's all right to exaggerate it, so that you really get the feeling, and at the same time, pay attention to your hands.
they automatically do that.
They do, and you begin to get a real tingling
Yes,
in the hands.
yes.
Yeah. The other thing is you want the hands just a little bit wider
Along the lines.
on this line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I know. Believe me, I know. And what you're doing right now is really good. It's a good thing.
Rigid.
Well,
I'm not even standing right.
no, but what I was going to say is you're not bending, you're not twisting. That's fine. Because you got to find, you could do this with your hands closed. You know, it really doesn't matter. How do I accomplish that? So that there is a continual circular flow.
To get circular, should I be doing this exaggerated? Moving my
Yeah.
elbows up and down.
Yeah. Of course, uh, if you think about it, I mean, you can do this not doing anything, but that takes a fair amount of deliberate effort. If you have bending in it, then it becomes much easier and it doesn't cause the shoulder to lift, because you want the shoulder not to lift when you're doing
Oh boy. See, yeah, that's my big problem.
it. The shoulder can rotate, it's opening and closing, it's bending and extending, but it's not lifting.
Yeah, you know, from
Yep.
from Rick, lifting your arm up with your wrist. I've been doing cardio drumming, and it used to kill me. But this last time I went, every time I went up with my arms, I went up with the wrist, and it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
I mean, big difference.
Oh yeah, because this immediately releases the shoulder. If you do this, the shoulder is involved, and more muscles are involved. It's just, it's amazing. Yeah.
Oh, it is.
So that's part of why we place so much emphasis on relaxing, on letting go. Letting go is like, it's practically number one in terms of principles. Because until you learn to let go, it's really hard to feel the energy and to not allow your body to get in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Easy for me to say,
Yeah, but
not easy to do. I don't mean that. That's definitely significantly better than what you were doing.
I can really feel it in my hand now.
Good. Good. I think part of that, it's interesting that if you let the hands come into the center like this, you don't get the energy movement in the hands that you get as soon as you align them with the side channels. And that's because you're moving more energy in your side channels.
Wow.
Thank you,
As
Mr.
usual,
O.
thank you.
Pleasure.
Ah,
Pleasure.
good.
You and I get into some different different things